Good evening, and thank you so much for joining us on Joy Asonye Live this beautiful evening. Today we'll be taking the conversation to people with disability and setting an agenda for the new administration. Nigeria has a sizable population of persons with disability. Some have marked it at 30 million Nigerians with disability. Others say 19, but whatever the number truly is, it's a sizable population, and they require special needs and care from the government in order to achieve their full potential. In spite of signing into law the Discrimination Against Persons with Disability Prohibition Act 2019 by President Muhammad Buhari, which creates mandatory provisions for preserving equality and ensuring that people with disabilities benefit from a level playing field. According to the Act, any form of discrimination against them is strictly prohibited and attracts sanction. Ahead of the May 29th inauguration of Asiwaju Ahmed Bola Tinubu's administration, my guest, Dr. Chike Okogwu, wrote an open letter to the president-elect urging him to include persons with disability, and would be sharing the plight of PWDs in Nigeria and why it is imperative to have them in key political offices. Doctor would be joining us via Skype. Hello, Dr. Chike.
Hi, Joy. As you can see, I'm driving. Let me first say Happy Workers' Day to everybody.
Happy Workers' Day.
I'm still wearing my workers. I'm still dressed in my Workers' Day attire, regalia.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yes, and I'm actually driving. May I please plead on, can we go off camera for a few minutes? Because I'm back in the middle of the road, so I can fix myself, but we can be talking. So you
I hope you're not.
Take me off camera for.
Okay, that's fine.
No, I'm fine. So you have my audio, and then I'll pull over properly, and then we'll take it from there.
That works for me, but we are going for a short break anyway, so we'll settle that. If you don't mind, we'll go for a short break, then come back to discuss more. Like I said earlier, we'll be discussing with Dr. Chike Okogwu. He is the founder and Chief Responsibility Officer of the Center for Ability, Rehabilitation and Empowerment, C.A.R.E Nigeria. We'll go for a short break now and return to discuss more about people with disability and the agenda for 2023. Stay with us, we'll be right back. Thank you so much for staying with us. This is still Joy Asonye Live, and like I said earlier, today we are discussing the agenda we are setting for people with disability for the new administration, and we are connecting via Skype with Dr. Chike Okogwu. He is the founder, Chief Responsibility Officer of the Center for Ability, Rehabilitation and Empowerment. Hello again, Dr. Chike.
You didn't have the care. That's all we are.
Okay, the acronym for Center for Ability, Rehabilitation and Empowerment is C.A.R.E. So are we good now, Dr. Chike?
Yeah, right. That's what we stand for. Earlier when you started, you were going about the numbers. Yes. By World Health Organization standards, Nigeria is assumed to be about 200 and between 200 and 219 persons with disability, population of 200. We're a population of about 200 or 219 persons. So 15% of that gives you about 30 million or 31 million. Because by World Health Organization standards, 15% of your population are assumed to be persons with disability. So that's where the figures come from.
Okay, thanks for correcting that. However, I heard the president around 2022 talk about the number of people with disability, and he called them to be 19 million. So that got me confused as to where the number is. And you know how we are with data in Nigeria.
Yeah. Well, we hope that the census is conducted properly So I believe that it will be done properly. I have confidence in them, and after the census, we'll know exactly what our numbers are, and then we'll take it from there.
Exactly. However, Doctor, today is the World Workers' Day, International Day for Workers, and it reminds us again, all over again, of the provision of the People with Disability Act that stipulates that all public organizations are to reserve 5% of employment opportunities for persons with disability. What's the adherence level in Nigeria?
Well, so far as it is, because the law gives a 5 year period for implementation. So I will say that at this point now, we're far below par when it comes to implementing that part of the act.
Mm.
It is a work in progress, and we do believe that if we start early in the day to begin to set the agenda, employers of labor will know the importance of this law and take advantage of it to our benefit.
Okay, so would you say that people with disabilities suffer some sort of discrimination in getting employment in Nigeria? Is that even a thing, or we are way above that?
Say that again, please. I lost you for a while.
Okay,
I
can you
missed
hear
the
me
question.
now?
Yeah, I missed the question.
I was asking if it is actually a dire situation. Do people with disability in Nigeria face discrimination while applying for
Oh,
jobs?
yes. It is terrible, honestly speaking. It is terrible because we live in a country where it appears like you don't have somebody to speak for you and all that. We're in a dire situation, and things just have to be done properly. That's the way a country moves forward. And I keep quoting former UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon, who says, and I quote, that if you do not carry along your 15% population with disabilities, you run the risk of losing 15% of your GDP. 15% of Nigeria's gross domestic product is a huge number. This class of people with disabilities that we're talking about have so much to offer the society. And I think it is imperative on the incoming government to take advantage of that. President Buhari has done his bit. God bless him. He'll go down into history as the president that signed the bill to protect the rights of persons with disabilities in Nigeria. That history is going to be indelible. But we need to do more, well, Oliver Twist.
You talked about the implementation. You said we have 5 years. This was signed in 2019. So we have just about 2 years now to go. And my question would be, having checked or appraised the new commission that came with the signing of that bill, that's the National Commission for Persons with Disability, do you think we would see execution of the provisions of that bill?
I want to believe that we will. I sincerely want to believe that we will. And why do I say that? The commission people by is run by people with experience. The current the executive secretary has had experiences at the Plateau State.
Hi, Doc. Dr. Chike, can you hear us? Okay, I think there's a glitch there. It would have been nice to hear him talk about how his optimism for the National Commission for Persons with Disability. It's most concerning now that implementation has indeed not begun, but what are they doing in terms of awareness? Are we having enough awareness, especially in public buildings, to have structures that will enable people with disability get access? So those are all the questions I would have really loved to ask Dr. Chike. Hi, doctor, can you hear us now?
Yes, I can hear you. Are you there?
Okay, yeah, I can hear you too. So go ahead.
Yes. Well, yes, the commission, you see, because it's a new commission too, they have been having challenges. Challenges of, well, that they will speak for themselves. If I were the head of the commission, I'd probably do things differently. But nonetheless, I will not throw away the baby out the bathwater. Am I satisfied with the commission as it is? Well, they could have done better. They have not done badly, they could have done better. That's my opinion. Um, we'll leave that matter for another day, and
However,
we'll wait until after
I would have loved to know the level of awareness, especially for accessibility for people with disability. Are they doing enough? Are you concerned that more advocacy should be in place before the stick method?
Well, yes, we can never have enough advocacy. And one of my, that's why I'm very grateful to KAFTAN TV and you, Joy. You have been very passionate about persons with disabilities. What we're currently doing now is part of the advocacy. I have always said that signing an act without creating awareness to the imperatives of that act is a waste of time. That's like blinking, a
Dr. Chike? Wow, that glitch again. Well, we'll still try to connect again. We're still discussing setting an agenda for the new administration, and especially as Dr. Chike Okogwu wrote an open letter to the president-elect to ensure there's inclusivity of people with disability. Dr. Chike, are you there? Okay, I think at this point we'll go for another quick break to see if we can solve that technicalities we are facing at the moment. When we come back, the conversation is still around people with disability and the new administration. Stay with us. This is still Joy Asonye Live. Welcome back from that. Dr. Chike Okogwu, can you hear us now?
Yes, technology and ecology owes us an apology.
That's fine. If you can go ahead, you are talking about the fact that it's not just about signing the act. What else are you expecting?
Yes, like I said, not just signing the act, we have to advocate and advocate and advocate more because people do not understand what we're talking about. If you recall, in some of my talks, we have seen disabilities more or less like our culture sees disabilities as a curse or a curse from the gods or a misfortune, you know. Sometimes you hear people tell you hard luck. What's hard about the luck here? It is just a situation that I found myself, and it could have been anybody. And if only they know that once you're able to take advantage of that situation, life actually can get better for you. So, um, it's all about doing more to tell the world about us and what is going on and how they can understand the life that we live.
Mm.
Um, Essentially, that's what it is.
Okay, I would like to still talk about the employment aspect. How employable have they made themselves? Do we have facilities in Nigeria that people with disability can access and equip themselves with the requisite knowledge?
As a matter of fact, I will tell you that yes, first to your question, and more added to that is that the Nigerian spirit is a magician. The way we excel in whatever we try to do. So when it comes to disabilities too, let me tell you that Nigeria excels well in disabilities. How do you explain that we go to at the main Olympics, we struggle to get medals, but at the Paralympics we clean out the gold medals? Have you noticed that? And the same thing, the same goes for other aspects of life. I'll tell you that we have a Nigerian, a blind member of the disability community, Dr. Chris Wano, is an ambassador par excellence from New York to India to all the places that he has served. And guess what? He's a director in the civil service at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. He is blind. And he does his job. He's a doctor, he's a first class in everything that he's doing. We have lots of them. I can go on and on. In the NGO community, we have Dr. Irene, Dr. Irene Patrick. We have David Anyele. You know of Chike.
Of course.
You know his Albino Foundation.
Yes.
Albinism is counted as a disability because staying in the sun causes a lot of pigmentation challenges for them in their skin. So many other people. So we hold our own. I don't want to mention yours truly, but whatever you say, I have learned how to refine my. I have allowed disability to refine me, not define me. How else do you explain that I'm multitasking, driving and talking at the same time? But don't worry, I'm doing it safely. And,
I was a bit concerned there, especially because one of the things we advocate for. Are you there?
I'm actually a celebrity special I'm a road safety celebrity special marshal, so I know the laws and I know how to go about it. I'm using all my kits, so it doesn't get in my way.
Okay, that's fine. But let's talk about that later. That's the elephant in the room right now. The letter you wrote to the president-elect, Asiwaju Ahmed Bola Tinubu, asking
bring
for
it on. There's no elephant. Bring it on.
Okay. So first of all, why is it so imperative to have people with disability in key political positions?
From my personal experience, you may recall that in 2012, between 2012 and 2015, I was a member of the board of C.A.R.E, which necessitated our attending federal executive councils at certain times, not all the time. And from my experience at that time, there were no laws. We didn't have a law to protect the rights of persons with disabilities. But the administration of President Jonathan at that time found it important to include us on the board of C.A.R.E to see how the C.A.R.E program would assist persons with disabilities. It's a long talk about that anyway. Now, when you go in there, the challenges of the staircases around the villa, even though special concessions are always made for those of us on a wheelchair, I feel that first it is not. Now there is an act, there is a law. So by the law, it is a matter of rights. The first goal, SDG 1, is about inclusion. Everything about inclusion is there. All right. So we must make sure that persons with disabilities get involved in the governance of our country. If you build a pyramid, at the top of the pyramid, we came from John Gaventa's Power and Powerlessness. John Gaventa, in his book Power and Powerlessness, describes 3 phases of power. The first phase as in my face, your face. Your face is beautiful anyway.
Thank you.
John Gaventa, at the first phase of power, talks about the master-servant relationship. And that's where we were at the beginning of this whole struggle. We evolved from there to the second phase of power. After all the advocacy protests and everything, the bill was signed, bringing us to the second phase of power, which is sitting on the table. That we have the commission now.
Okay.
So we are now seen as almost equal partners because we have a commission. So if you call us, we have somewhere to represent us from in governance or government. Now we need to get into the third phase of power, which is the hegemony stage of hegemony phase, where we allocate and share resources And how well and how best can those resources be shared when you are in the room at the Federal Executive Council? Now, this is a matter, I repeat, a matter of right, not a matter of privilege. The law says that every employment must have at least 5% quota for
Right.
persons with disabilities. If you have 37 ministers to be nominated, the law says 2 out of those ministers must be persons with disabilities. It is not a may, it is a shall.
Can you hear me?
Over to
Please go
you.
ahead.
Yes. So that is why we have started this advocacy and this push to have our act implemented inside the Federal Executive Council. If you have a blind minister or a minister on a wheelchair, when we're now talking about funding the commission or things that have to do with access into buildings, access to education, access to financial inclusion, access, lifting people out of poverty. Lifting people out of poverty is not what is being done now, and giving out handouts like we're still beggars. No. Lifting people out of poverty is empowerment, which is the last part of CARE, our acronym, because people with disabilities are driven by 4 key points, which we call CORE. That is our mantra at CARE. Courage stands, C stands for courage, O stands for opportunities, R stands for responsibility, and E stands for empowerment. With these 4 elements, these are the things that drive a PWD into excellence. You give us a task, we take it with courage, we go into it. We're fearless, we're bold, because what else can be bad? What else? There's a parable that says, he that is fallen fears no fall.
Hmm.
I could do with you, we can't fear for ground again.
He that is down need fear no fall.
We need fear no fall. So with courage, we're able to lift ourselves up. We now look at disabilities from the positive aspect. Empathy, not sympathy. Empathy creates opportunities. Sympathy, you know, sympathy pushes the opportunities away. And look, in life, wherever there is a crisis, like the Chinese proverb will say, Chinese people see opportunities in crisis. So when disabilities becomes a crisis, which it is in your life anyway, you should see the opportunity in it. And let me give you something. This sounds like an irony, but it is for real. Have you realized that if you see a beggar who you keep giving money to all the time, a time will come. You say, this man can't. Every time you be disturbing me, because you, the philanthropist, you get tired of giving. It is a natural thing. But if you see that same beggar selling things like, phone cables and all that,
Hmm.
anytime you want to buy phone items or all that, you will go to that beggar because you value and you empathize with him. When
That's
I
true.
go to meetings, and I have had meetings with world leaders, local and abroad, they don't come down to meet me where the facilities are not available because I am who I am. They come because of the value that they think that I bring. And in one of my works, I titled it Creating Values Out of Disabilities. That is what will create opportunities for persons with disabilities. And this is exactly what we're doing by and training of our people. Of course, when you have opportunities like that, it takes a sense of responsibility. That's why I'm the chief responsibility officer where I run.
Hmm.
Okay? It is an act of responsibility to be able to take care of people. Because as a leader, we are not training people to do the work better. We are grooming and training people to be the best of whom they can be. So it is an all-encompassing thing. We don't promote people at work because we want them to get to the top of the ladder and do the work better. We make them grow on the ladder so they can get better, build more capacity, love their families, and their families will love them, and everything around them will go easy. Of course, can all this come without empowerment? Empowerment is not just about giving handouts. Empowerment is about teaching people how to fish and giving us the kits and tools to fish. So the only place we can send this message clearly across is
Right.
at the Federal Executive Council. That is why we're pushing for this. And I'm not alone in this. The community, I speak for 30 million persons with disabilities in Nigeria and even more. If there's anybody in your studio there who wears glasses, tell that person he's our member because they are wearing glasses already. So if they are laughing at me, tell them that I said so. Furthermore, if you escape disability now because you're young, it's waiting for you. Yoruba says it is a baba. It's waiting for you down the road.
Exactly.
With age, you will have to get there. Moreover, disability doesn't give a warning. I was not born a PWD. I was going to the airport on December 15, 2006, and I got involved in a car crash that left me with spinal cord injuries. It happens every day.
That's true.
As we speak today, people have survived accidents and they have become paraplegic, quadriplegic, or tetraplegic, whichever way. So much damage has been done to them and they have become members of this community. People get poisoned. People become, I mean, what's it? Medication, take medication.
Mm-hmm.
I have lost a friend who went to take injections, and from there he lost his functions. I don't know what happened to him, or eventually died even. Chooks Ewo was a staff of the CDN. So many of them like that. So many things can cause this. Accidents do happen. So I have a cousin who got involved in a fire accident, and today he's a PWD, Bolaji. So we can go on and on. You know, that is why we need to make sure that life is better for anybody because, like I said earlier, it can happen to anybody.
That's true. However, how do you manage? How does the C.A.R.E Nigeria, how does C.A.R.E Nigeria rather manage this empowerment aspect? I know it can get overwhelming. Dr. Chike, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
I can hear you clearly. Did you hear my question?
Yes, I heard your empowerment and how do we manage.
Mm-hmm.
First, we must thank our partners like Oxfam, who have been supporting us. We have other people like Action Aid. We have you said, yeah, I mean, all the funders, the European Union, the Canadian embassy, well, the Canadians and all that, Australian support from all over the world that has assisting persons with disabilities get around and get moving in Nigeria. Empowerment, we look at empowerment from different angles. And one of the ways we're doing our empowerment is through getting people to, run their own businesses, entrepreneurship. It could be in agri, it could be in anything. The way it is, we make sure that people get trained to start small businesses and you give them starter packs. Recall that I was in Shopee, so I learned that in Shopee. All right, and it's been overwhelming, yes, because funding has always been a challenge. But I'm not alone. Other colleagues in different NGOs, network of women with disabilities, Lois Alta, and the rest of them, they are doing great, helping women with disabilities and all that. So the more we get into this, the better it will be for us.
Okay, should the president-elect not adhere to your nudging, that's the kindest way I can put it, or your directives, what would be the next step, just so that we have a new government that will understand the need to follow this act? So what would be your next step? Dr. Okogwu, are you there? Okay, we've been speaking with Dr. Chike Okogwu, the founder, Chief Responsibility Officer of the Center for Ability, Rehabilitation and Empowerment. Unfortunately, we've been having several glitches, and I was making a joke earlier that, I mean, with all these glitches, I guess we can give INEC some level of leverage. I mean, after the announcement that glitches was the reason why IREF did not work, that's the INEC results viewing portal, and here we are facing some. So I guess it's not just INEC that faced that. But I think this is where we would draw the curtains on Joy Asonye Live. It would have been wonderful to have a more robust conversation with Dr. Chike Okogwu, who is the founder, C.A.R.E Nigeria. Well, we probably will bring him again when we can have a better conversation. This is Joy Asonye Live. We'll be back tomorrow with more. Have a wonderful evening.